So since the PTS ended a few days back and we've finally gotten to see a glimpse of what the new Descent game mode is going to be like, I've been getting a lot of questions at the channel on not only what do I think of the mode, but how did this game mode actually get put together, why did the game land on this? Now thankfully YANNICK, who is the creative director over at The Division 2, has been giving different online interviews, and one of which he went over specific details of Descent. So today, my friends, we're going to go over some of those highlights and as always answer some of the questions you've sent the channel. What's up my YouTube family, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and today's video is a follow-up to one that I put together on Monday where YANNICK talked about a lot of Year 5 details, but as I said a moment ago, today is all about Descent and an interview that he gave as well. Now if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, you could hit that like button as well, and you know we have giveaways here, but I will save that info until the end of the video. Now the first thing I'd like to get into before we go into YANNICK's interview, and this is by far the #1 question you've sent the channel about Descent, is can you earn rewards in this game mode that transfer to your main character in the game? And the answer is absolutely yes. So you can see on the screen, and the image you're looking at is from a video that Kamikazevondoom put out a few days back. A huge shout out to him. In that video he went to level 71 in Descent, and if you haven't seen that video as yet, I will leave a link to it in the description down below. That way you can check it out anytime you want. Now the reason I'm showing this image is for a few reasons. First of all, when he completed his run on Descent, he went back to his main character, and what you're looking at are the rewards he gained from the Descent game mode. So again, they do transfer to his main character, and as we look at them, you can see that he earned a few exotic caches, a few crafting material caches as well. However, at the bottom he also earned a few perfected gear caches, and this is the first time we have ever heard that term in this game. And upon further inspection, you can see that there are only 2 purple pieces of gear in that cache, but that has to be a placeholder at this point. Now what perfected cache means at this point, obviously we have no idea, and it's my hope that in the next phase of the PTS we do get more of an insight of what that could mean. I mean, it could mean anything from a guaranteed piece of gear that has a perfected talent on it to something we've never seen in the game before. And obviously I hope that it is something new, because when you think about it, named caches already give you an item in the game that has a perfected talent on it, so this would be a little bit redundant. Obviously it is speculation at this time, and as always, once I have any more information I will pass it along. With that being said, my friends, let's now get into the interview that YANNICK gave to ggrecon.com a few days ago, specifically about Descent mode. Now this is actually a follow-up to a video I put out a few days ago, where I went over some details of an interview that YANNICK gave to a different online publication, and if you've missed that, I will leave a link to it in the video description down below. Now you can see here, YANNICK starts off the interview by saying the following: Descent has been in development for quite some time. It was always in our minds to create a roguelite mode like Descent, and in doing so we talked about what kind of experience we wanted our players to have. So when it came to creating Descent, I wanted to do something that had to do with power progression fantasy, and that's not something you can necessarily experience in the Division 2 today unless you create a new agent and go through the campaign all over again. So that was the intent with Descent, to recreate that fantasy in a much more contained context. Now he continues by saying it's a game mode really designed for everyone, because not only is it for new players because a high level character is not needed to jump in, but it's also for experienced players because they'll see things they haven't seen in other aspects of the game. So the next comment has to do with leaderboards, and he says it's also for competitive players who are going to try to top their leaderboards all the time. So this is a mode that allows for us to offer different play styles and fantasies. Now I know a lot of you have the concern that the reward system was going to be strictly based on the leaderboards, and as you saw a moment ago, that is not going to be the case. Now at this point, I do not know what the structure is like in regard to earning rewards, meaning do you have to get to level 5 to get a cache, level 10, how far do you need to actually progress to get those things? But in the next PTS I will keep track and obviously let you know. Now getting back to the interview, my friends, YANNICK goes on to say there is no loot in Descent. That's one of the major differences compared to the base game. There are only power-ups that you get when you're completing rooms, and those power-ups consist of talents we take from gear that exists in the rest of the game but aren't connected to your gear. They are connected directly to your character, which means that you can use any weapon you want and apply those talents to any of them. You don't have gear, you don't have ammo, you don't have chest pieces or knee pads, you will only get power-ups that influence the playstyle. That's what makes Descent very different compared to the main game. Here we have a looter shooter without any loot in Descent. It's simply a choice of power-ups and how they combine with each other. Now this, in my opinion, is where the interview gets very interesting, because Yannick says we didn't develop Descent with the intention of making a roguelite mode. We initially thought about creating a survival experience where you start with no gear and you have to grind for your gear within the mode, but as we worked and integrated the mode, it slowly evolved to the roguelite style. The fact that roguelites are popular now didn't really make it easier for us to decide on making the mode, because at the time nobody really challenged us to make the mode anyway. And as we make our way to the final page of the interview, I know a lot of you are thinking at this very moment, does that mean we could have had Survival 2.0? My friends, it's all speculative. We have no idea, but obviously this is what we are getting. Now, as you can see here, and this happens to be another concern a lot of you have, is that is Descent just going to be another version of the Summit? And thankfully that question was posed to Yannick, and he said, I do expect these two modes to coexist because they have different objectives, pointing to the mode's use of randomized rooms and custom builds. When it comes to Descent, is very different in the sense that we are not randomizing the spaces. The configuration of the rooms is going to be the same. The surprise is not going to be the rooms, but what's going to populate those rooms and what you get out of completing that room. So it's very easy to draw the similarities between the two modes because they are linear in terms of going from room to room and you're trying to reach the end, but ultimately they play differently because in Descent you start with nothing and you're going to use whatever you can find within that space. Now, as I start to wrap this video up, a lot of you have asked me my opinion after playing the game during the PTS, and I think it has a lot of potential, but there are definitely things that need to be worked on. And as I said earlier, the reward system is going to have a huge impact on this game's replayability, and not only that, what I want to see is some sort of a save point as you continue through this mode. And the reason I say that is because that could really help the game implement a reward system where as you get to, let's say, level 25, level 50, 75, 100, that is where you're going to earn exclusive items in this mode, and it takes a long time to get to those levels. I mean, for me, I got to level 9 at one point, and that took a good hour and a half at least, maybe 2 hours, close to that. So it does take time to progress in this game mode, but again, my friends, if they implement some sort of save system, I can truly see that helping the replayability of this game. Please let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and as always, if you have any other questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know. With that being said, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your incredible support of this channel. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are currently having a giveaway for a PlayStation 5. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe here or follow on Twitter, and the winner will be announced May 4th of this year. On that note, I'm going to wrap this thing up, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, you could hit that like button as well, but most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.